If you or someone you love is suffering from hair loss, this episode is really important to listen to. I'm going to give you my favorite professional approach to better hair. I'm going to go over some of the hair loss statistics, the types of hair loss, why we lose our hair, what are some of the mainstream conventional remedies for hair loss, but some of the emerging treatments that might be piquing your interest. And I'm going to go over some of the integrative, functional, and holistic approaches to better hair. Let's get into it. Generally, 70% of men will experience some degree of hair loss by the age of 35. I know a lot of you listening out there going, oh my God, my husband, my boyfriend is starting to lose his hair and it's on his mind and it's giving him anxiety. Send him this show right now. You might be like, oh my God, I'm losing my hair. I have anxiety. Listen to this show. 40% of women will experience noticeable hair thinning by the age of 40. And there's a global impact. Hair loss affects 50 million men and 30 million women in the United States alone. Now, there's different types, not just one type, okay? The most common form of hair loss affecting both men and women, actually 80% of men, will have something called androgenic alopecia. By the age of 70, 80% of men are gonna have it. About 40% of women will have some sort of androgenic alopecia by the age of 50. That is just the hormonal genetic loss of our hair. That's the most common one. You know, the male pattern baldness one you see, the one you expect when you think about hair loss. That's hair loss from a genetic standpoint. There's also something called Alopecia Areata. This is an autoimmune disorder that actually causes patches. I know some of you have had it out there. Patches, small little patches where we're losing our hair. It affects 2% of the population. There's something also called Telogen Effluvium, and this is a common hair loss that occurs when there's actually a large number of hair loss particles entering this phase where they're just resting. They're not even awake and alive and bursting out of the scalp. They're just resting. They're asleep in the cave, okay? And actually 30% of people out there are suffering with this. And it has different triggers. The biggest ones, stress, illness, and hormonal changes. Then there's Anagen Effluvium. This is hair loss caused by chemotherapy and other drugs out there, usually pharmaceutically influenced. And it's about 100% of people who undergo these therapeutics will start losing their hair, especially in chemotherapy. We've seen that a lot. So hair loss becomes more common with age, as we'd expect, with the majority of people experiencing some form of thinning hair or loss as we grow older. Family history, genetics is the most significant factor, right? There's a higher likelihood of experiencing hair loss if it runs in the family. And it doesn't have to be your direct grandfather, right? Or your direct grandmother. If it just runs in the family, and if you have a first-degree relative who has thinning hair or hair loss, you're more at risk for hair loss. Ethnicity actually plays a role. There are many studies that show there's variations in hair loss prevalent among ethnic groups as well. Caucasian men are more likely to experience male pattern baldness than men from other ethnicities. Now, as you know, hair loss can have a devastating effect on many people's confidence. Hair loss can have psychological overall effects on anxiety and depression, a decreased overall self-esteem. It's estimated that 30% of people with hair loss experience moderate to severe psychological distress. There's also a really significant economic impact. The global hair loss treatment market is a $1 billion industry, actually $8.6 billion industry back in 2020. It's been growing, right? There's supplements for hair loss, there's drugs for hair loss, shampoos for hair loss, creams, lotions, everything under the sun. $8.6 billion. So back to why we start losing our hair. Androgenic alopecia, this is the pattern baldness, the male pattern baldness, the female pattern baldness. And that's usually a hormonal influence, right? It's influenced by something called dihydrotestosterone. It's DHT. It's actually a derivative, downstream derivative of testosterone. And what happens is when DHT binds to the androgen receptors in the hair follicles, right? Think of a hair follicle down bottom under the scalp. It's got all these receptors. Those androgen receptors that it's just waiting to receive, DHT is binding on it. And it's actually causing them to shrink. And this process is called follicular miniaturization. And over time, that hair follicle becomes smaller, producing thinner, shorter hairs. You know, you may notice, oh my God, my hair is thinning. That's this process. It's leading to the breakdown, the cessation of the overall hair production in that follicle, and it's no more. The genetic factor is really significant, right? Because it's actually determining how sensitive you are to DHT. Some people are more sensitive to DHT than others. For men, the DHT sensitive follicles are usually in the temples, in the frontal hairline, in the crown, hence the male pattern baldness. For women, it actually diffuses overall the whole crown, right? So usually it's just right above the head. You're going to notice hairline thinning or hairline recession. Now, the other common type of hair loss mechanism is Telogen Effluvium. I mentioned that one before. This is when the cycle of the hair is just disrupted, right? All hair follicles have a cycle. Telogen effluvium occurs when basically there's a significant number of hair follicles that are prematurely moving into the resting phase in the cave. It's called telogen. And what's happening is they're just not really coming out of that resting phase, or it's really slow and you're all of a sudden noticing outside of your scalp what's happening with my hair. Now we know physical and emotional stress are major. This is the type of hair loss that comes when you are under massive amounts of stress. Again, it could be physical, you could be at a car accident, you could be in the hospital, but usually it's the emotional stress. But it's also connected to illness. Some people lose their hair when they're really sick. It's connected to surgery. Some people lose their hair post-surgery. We also see it in childbirth, medication, even nutritional deficiencies, which I'm going to go into later. So the shedding results in basically this diffuse hair just loss several weeks to months after an event. So remember, it always is triggered by an event. The other ones is genetic sensitivity to DHT, and you start losing it over time. This one is a lot quicker, right? So just notice that it's usually one is genetic and one is an inciting factor, and it's diffuse across the scalp, and it has noticeable thinning, right? But it's not the same as baldness. It's more thinning that you're going to notice. Now, alopecia, that's the autoimmune one. That's where the immune system attacks the hair follicles. It's causing more inflammation around the hair follicle, which is disrupting the hair cycle. There's many different factors, but that's really getting to the root of what is causing your autoimmune disease. You definitely should work with a practitioner on that one to test you for autoimmune disease, diagnose you if you've never been diagnosed. You'll find patchy areas in the scalp, the face, other body parts, the eyebrows usually. That's usually the autoimmune process. And the last one, Anagen Effluvium, that's coming from the toxic exposure. What happens is when we're exposed to something like chemotherapy, it's disrupting the hair cycle follicle, right? And it's the anagen follicle, the growth phase. So it's just not growing. Your hair's not growing because you're going through something like chemotherapy radiation. That's pretty rapid. Now, how do we treat hair loss conventionally? I know you all heard of Rogaine. That's Minoxidil. It's an over-the-counter topical treatment. It's got a liquid spray form. It's got a foam form that you just foam in your hair. And what it does is it stimulates the hair follicles and actually prolongs that anagen phase, the growth phase. So technically, you should be seeing more hair growth because it's more hairs are in the cycle of growth, not resting. And there's effectiveness to it. It's actually proven to promote hair growth in both men and women, at the very least, stop it from falling. It's just a long-term, lifelong sign-up dedication with it, right? But you can notice that there might be scalp itching, dryness, but really one of the major ones that have been used for quite a while is Finasteride, the name Propecia, the popular name. And this is a prescription oral medication. And what it does is it inhibits an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. That enzyme creates more DHT. And remember what I said about DHT? That's what's binding to the androgenic receptors of the follicle, right? And those androgenic receptors are stimulated by DHT. It's causing thinning of the hair, and we're losing it, right? That's the genetic mechanism from male pattern baldness, female pattern baldness. Minoxidil actually stops the production of so much DHT, okay? It's effective. It's been shown to help prevent further hair loss and might actually promote regrowth in men. A lot of studies in men combined with minoxidil, it's shown to be one of the most powerful treatments for hair loss. Now, we have to know this. Not a lot of doctors will tell you when you're being prescribed Finasteride or Propecia that it can affect your sexual health. One of the major side effects is we see is sexual dysfunction, decreased libido, actually potential risk of prostate cancer. You know I'm someone who prioritizes clean, pure, and high quality ingredients in my life. You know I'm super picky about supplements, especially the ones I take. Omega-3s are not all created equal, right? The ocean is polluted. Even the fish that we eat can be contaminated with heavy metals, all the nasty stuff. And when you concentrate that to an omega-3 supplement, it can be problematic. That's where Peori comes in. Peori's O3 Ultra Pure Fish Oil is my go-to for premium potent dosing of EPA and DHA. I really love this company, Peori. They are committed to purity, potency and transparency. Each batch that they produce is third-party tested for over 200 different contaminants, so you know you're getting an incredibly clean fish oil. Puree's O3 is certified by the Clean Label Project and has a 5 out of 5 star rating from IFOS, that is the International Fish Oil Standards Organization, for purity and freshness. I'm telling you, if you want a fish oil, this is my go-to. Listen to me, this one's fantastic. And listen to this transparency. Every bottle has a QR code. They're holding themselves accountable for every single bottle that gets to you. I take Puree's O3 every single day. I take 2,000 milligrams of long-chain omega-3s, supporting my heart, my eyes, my brain. It's all third-party tested. I don't have to think about nothing, no fishy burps, quality fish oil. If you're looking to add a premium, pure, potent omega-3 fish oil to your routine, this is the one that you take. It is a fantastic part of my regimen, and you get 20% off. From Puree's O3 Ultra Pure Fish Oil, you as a Heal Thyself listener are gonna get 20% off, even on top of the already discounted subscription price. Use the code DRG for 20% off the already discounted price. That is PUORI.com/DRG. Use the code DRG. I bet a lot of you didn't know that traditional nonstick cookware and kitchen appliances contain forever chemicals called PFAS. Yeah, that's right. Some of the nastiest chemicals that stay in your body and certainly the environment for many years are going to affect you for the long term. You may not feel it from the first time. It is insidious, it builds up in the body and starts affecting your whole system. This is why I'm excited to tell you about Our Place. It's a mission-driven, female-founded brand that is revolutionizing the kitchen product industry. They have beautiful cookware appliances, and their kitchen tools are 100% free of PFAS and other toxic compounds like PTFE and Teflon. I fell in love with Our Place because of their cast iron. Their cast iron is enameled, and unlike the raw cast iron, it's not going to rust. And it's not going to expose us to any of the heavy metals inside. And I really love that they're under Proposition 65. That means that we don't have to worry about the heavy metals in the pans. So it's really fantastic that they've built pans that are not chemically coated. They are clean. We don't have to worry about any nonstick properties getting into our food and aromatically into the air. If you're interested in getting my favorite cast iron pan out there, go to Our Place. You're going to get 10% off site-wide. That's FROMOURPLACE.com. And the code is Dr. G. Our Place is offering a 100-day trial with free shipping and returns, so you can cook with a total peace of mind. Go check it out. Go get yourself a nice cast iron pan. You deserve it. There's also multiple surgeries. There's the follicular unit transplantation. That's where they remove a strip of scalp. It's removed, and then the follicles are transplanted. And then there's the more sophisticated one, follicular unit extraction, where they remove individual hairs, extract them from a certain donor area in your head, and then implant them in another side. Permanent, natural looking results. It's expensive. Yeah, there's a risk for infection, and there's post-operative pain. So just look at where you're at. I mean, how much it matters to you. You know, there's no right or wrong answer here. We're just giving you the information. Now, there's actually some new emerging and advanced treatments out there for hair that's really important. Platelet-Rich Plasma Therapy, PRP. It actually involves injecting concentrated platelets from the patient's blood into the scalp. Platelets actually release these growth factors that stimulate hair follicles. And studies actually show promising results at improving hair density and the thickness. Now, the side effects are minimal. There could be some scalp tenderness and minor bruising, but, and it's not cheap, but it's actually an intriguing one. It's one that I've kept my eye on too. I know a lot of people who've done well with PRP and hair growth and hair thickness and bringing back hair into certain spots of the head. So definitely something to look at, but always consider your budget, right? Do the research. Now low-level laser therapy. This is the red light therapy, the infrared. There's devices like there's the caps and there's the handhelds and the big ones and the combs and the helmets. But basically what they're doing is emitting low-level lasers. And it's actually believed to increase your cellular activity. It's improving blood flow to the hair follicles. And there's actually some evidence to support that it continues stimulating hair growth and reduces hair loss and has good efficacy with it. There's really no side effects. There's minimal effects reported, maybe some itching, but realistically, this is a really nice day-to-day one that you can use. When it comes to red light therapy and hair loss, more exposure isn't always better. Proper stacking, right? So go 2 weeks on, 1 week off, just to get the full benefit, okay? Stem cell therapy, not really used here in America anymore, but there's experimental treatments using stem cells to regenerate hair follicles. And there is some promise around there. Stem cells are thought to really just promote the growth and repair of the hair follicles. Early research, there's some potential, but what are used are exosomes. And these actually involved injecting something called exosomes. They're cell signaling molecules, and they're actually derived from stem cells. So people who don't use stem cells, because they can't be used in the United States anymore, are using exosomes. And they actually promote cellular communication and regeneration. And there's emerging evidence suggesting that, yeah, it actually may have a potential for hair growth. Still under investigation, still early, but keeping an eye on that one too. But let's go into my favorite stuff. Let's go into the good stuff. The naturopathic, the functional, the stuff I love to talk about. You know, we look at the genetics, main driver of hair loss for sure, but diet and lifestyle play a major role. If you have hair loss and you really want to work on your hair health, get with a board licensed naturopathic or functional doctor who can start you off with blood work. You want to get your blood work first. You want to get a nutritional analysis. Get a SpectraCell test. Get a Genova nutritional panel. See what your vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, essential fatty acids look like. You want to make sure that you're nutritionally sound, because if you're losing hair, and it might not be male pattern baldness, you might be losing hair because you're just nutritionally deficient. It's really important to get a baseline. So that's my first recommendation. Look at the nutrition. You want to make sure you're eating a protein-rich diet. Protein is essential for hair. I don't care what anyone, it has to be. Hair is primarily made of keratin. That's a protein. And you need adequate protein intake to have hair growth and strength. It is essential. Whether you're eating lean meats, fish, eggs, dairy, legumes, nuts, seeds, plant-based, carnivore, I don't care what it is, you got to get some protein in there. Studies have shown that protein deficiency can lead to thinning, hair loss. Another micronutrient is iron. It's crucial for red blood cells. They're carrying oxygen to the hair follicles, and iron is helping that happen. Iron deficiency, which is called anemia, it's a common cause of hair loss, especially in a lot of you women out there. You have enough iron in your system and your hair's falling out, right? So red meat, poultry, fish, lentils, spinach, fortified cereals, you can mix it with lemon to increase the iron absorption in the body. Research indicates that, yeah, there's a strong link between iron deficiency and hair loss. Supplementation of iron can actually improve hair growth, but you want to make sure you're doing that with a doctor because you don't want to take too much iron. Zinc, another important micronutrient. It plays a vital role in the hair tissue, the growth, the repair. It helps the oil in the glands around the follicles, right? Keep it moisturized, keep it working properly. You're getting it from foods, meat, shellfish, dairy, nuts, seeds. And zinc deficiency has been associated with hair loss. And zinc supplementation may help hair loss. Again, if you get on a protocol, make sure you're doing it with a professional. You don't want to take too much zinc. Vitamin D deficiency, big one. It's been linked with alopecia. Sun exposure is so important. You can get some from fatty fish, egg yolks, fortified foods. Vitamin D, just like vitamin E, is really important in the antioxidant role. You see, when you have oxidative stress, that's linked to hair loss. Something like vitamin E, you're getting in good nuts, good seeds, good leafy greens, right? You're not just sticking to one particular food. Really, really important for hair growth. So getting good vitamin D, good vitamin E, getting those levels tested with your doctor. For sure, you want to be nutritionally sound if your hair's falling off. B vitamins. Biotin is B7, niacin is B3. These are essential for hair health. They're found in eggs, nuts, whole grains, avocados. But the studies have demonstrated that deficiencies in these B vitamins, which are actually pretty common. Every time I did these nutritional tests, B vitamins were really low for people. So you got to get your B vitamins checked, right? Again, get the SpectraCell test, get the NutrEval test, see where you're at nutritionally. I do this every single year. Hair loss, really important when it comes to B vitamins. Another major micronutrient that I've seen really low in people is omega-3s. And omega-3s are essential for nourishing your hair, supporting hair thickening, reducing inflammation. That's all going to lead to hair loss, right? And you get this from fatty fish like salmon and mackerel, but you also get it from flax seeds, chia seeds, walnuts, even fish oil supplementation. There's a lot of good ones out there. There's a lot of really crappy ones out there. I talk a lot about that. But research supports actually omega-3s can actually help promote hair growth and just overall hair health, and making sure you're getting foods rich in antioxidants. You're getting that vitamin D from the sun. You're getting vitamin A, C, E. These are berries, nuts, spinach, fruits, vegetables. Just making sure you're getting an antioxidant-rich diet. All the colors of the rainbow are going to be really important for your hair health. But man, if you got your diet in check and you're still losing your hair, you got to check your stress. Stress is essential for hair health. It can significantly impact your hair health and leading to various reasons for hair loss with several mechanisms. Telogen Effluvium, Alopecia Areata, Androgenic Alopecia are all aggravated by stress. And how does it happen? It affects your hormones. First and foremost, cortisol, chronic stress leads to prolonged release of that cortisol, right? And that's a stress hormone. And when it's elevated, it's going to disrupt your normal hair growth cycle. It's going to push the hair follicles into the resting phase. They're going into the cave and they are staying there. And it's staying there for a long time. Prematurely, more hair is going to be in there. And what you're seeing is increased shedding and increased thinning. It's affecting your immune system, right? And by virtue of being so stressed, it's going to lead to chronic inflammation in the body. Now you're going to have an overactive response to the immune system. It's going to target the hair follicles. It's going to cause inflammation around the hair follicles, right? So we have to really think how we're nourishing our body by just stopping and slowing down, by becoming more mindful, by grounding ourselves and knowing that it's having a signal for our hormones and our immune system. But where does that signal come from? It comes from our autonomic nervous system. This is our regulation. When we have a dysregulated system, we are in a sympathetic nervous state. Chronic stress in that sympathetic nervous state is leading to vasoconstriction in the hair, right? All that blood needs to go to your legs, it needs to go to your eyes, it needs to go to your lungs so you can survive. But in a chronic state of stress, you're going to have reduced blood flow to the follicles. Reduced blood flow to the scalp means your hair follicles are like, where are my essential nutrients and oxygen for living? If they're not getting it, they're going to fall off. So stress increases the production of free radicals. It's leading to oxidative stress, and this is going to damage the DNA of those cells in the hair follicle. So what happens? Oxidative damage can lead to weakened hair follicles, and now you're reducing your hair growth, increasing that hair shedding. Stress is going to activate something called the HPA axis. That is leading to the release of stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, right? When you're amped up, and these hormones are affecting the hair growth cycle, is pushing it back into that telogen, resting, underground, cave phase. So you see, all of this is really, really important. There's behavioral responses to stress overall. So we got to think about how we're managing stress. There's mindfulness, meditation, making sure you're doing something to just ground yourself every single day. You got to get a practice. Exercise is going to be fantastic, especially with the circulation piece, getting more blood flow and healthy hair growth. The name of the game is getting blood flow to the roots. Exercise improves blood circulation. It's helping the scalp. It's promoting hair growth. There's cardiovascular exercises. You can start running or cycling or strength training or whatever it is, increasing your heart rate to get more blood to the scalp. Now, regular physical activity is actually linked to improved hair health overall, reduce hair loss, better circulation. You can do yoga and deep breathing, beautiful. But remember, if you're persistently stressed, you want to get to the emotional level. You want to get to what's being repressed on the inside. When you get to what's being repressed on the inside, you're giving a new signal to your nervous system to create a massive shift in your overall response to stress, right? So all the things I just mentioned are going to help on the surface, but really you want to get to the root. The nutritional impact is always going to be connected to stress. A lot of people who are stressed have poor dietary habits. They're skipping meals, they're eating too much, they're eating crappy. Really important. We went over the vitamin and mineral part, but just seeing the big picture. Now, scalp care is really, really important. We don't talk enough about this. I did a fantastic show on scalp care with Dr. Andrea Echeverri. Go back to that and listen, we do a deep dive. You want to do regular cleansing of the scalp. You don't want to have a buildup of excess oil or dirt. You don't want clogging in the hair follicles that are hindering hair growth, because that can happen. You want to make sure you're using gentle shampooing, sulfate-free shampoo, suitable for your hair, right? Make sure you avoid the harsh shampoos that can strip all the natural oils. You want to have good natural oils on your hair, but not too much. Shampooing regularly. For most people, washing 2 to 3 times is sufficient. Dr. Andrea Echeverri says that's even too much. Go back to the show and listen. However, let's think about using lukewarm water. A lot of you love searing hot water in the bath. I know some of you are smiling right now and be like, oop, that's me. You got to make sure that you're not searing hot your scalp, okay? If you like searing hot, just avoid the scalp. Get it on your chest, get it on your back, but my God, protect your scalp. Why? Searing hot is going to strip the scalp of those natural oils. It's going to cause dryness. It's going to cause irritation. Exfoliation is actually important. You want to help remove dead skin cells, right? The product of buildup is really important. So you got to eliminate those dead skin cells, open up those pores. You can do scalp scrubs, exfoliating once a week. You can look for gentle exfoliants out there, but you can do it yourself. You can create like a brown sugar or coconut oil exfoliant. I have a little blue brush that I use. And I remember my friend who works in hair, he said, I said, how often do you use this brush? He goes, every time I shampoo my hair, every time I'm in the bath, every time I'm taking a shower. I go, interesting, why? And he goes, well, I wouldn't brush my teeth with my finger, right? It gets in there. You want to actually exfoliate, increase blood flow to the scalp. Something that I do every single day. Keeping it moisturized. You know, if you use conditioners, just make sure you're getting a non-toxic one. Go to ewg.org, find a shampoo or conditioner that is really, really going to be a high quality one, minus all those chemicals. And using natural oils, if you choose to, like coconut oil, jojoba oil, argan oil, these are going to be helpful for the scalp. Some people like to leave them on overnight before washing off, just to really nourish it. Doing scalp massages, I do this during the day. Sometimes I just play with my scalp, or especially in the shower, I'll use that blue brush. Manual massaging 5 to 10 minutes a day will be really good. There's massage tools, right? Like scalp massages, rollers. You just want to make sure you're doing right by your scalp, especially if you're losing your hair, right? Avoiding overstyling it, too many heat lamps or heat styling tools. A lot of you love doing those irons on your hair, all that chemical treatment that you're getting, all those nasty hair dyes. That's going to play a toll on your root. It's going to play a toll on your hair health. Hair health oftentimes is indicative of our overall health, our ability to have a good blood flow, good nutrition to the body, right? So these are all things that maybe a lot of people don't talk about, but we really want to pay attention to it. We want to address any scalp conditions, you know, the dandruffs of the world, or the seborrheic dermatitises of the world, or the psoriasis on the scalp of the world. Folliculitis, we want to make sure we're addressing why it's happening. Most of the time it's happening because of dysbiotic scalp. Our scalp has bacteria, fungi, viruses, mites, and we want to make sure that we're doing right by our scalp. Just like our gut, just like our skin, our scalp has its own microbiota. Now, we want to avoid any harmful habits that are actually affecting it. That means drinking, smoking, right? We're protecting it. This is working for us. It's working with a barrier function. It's protecting the scalp from any nasties in our environment. It has an immune response, so it's protecting our scalp, fighting off infections. How many of you had a scalp infection? Probably not a lot of you, because you have a microbiome that's helping you every single day. Give a little love right now. Say thank you. And it's maintaining your scalp health overall. It's breaking down natural oils. It's balancing the pH so you have good microbial diversity. It's preventing inflammation of the scalp, a common cause of hair loss, right? So we want to give love to the scalp biome, getting rid of all those nasty shampoo products, the hairsprays, the conditioner products, all those nasty things that we put in there that people don't care about, especially the companies don't care about what's in there and how it's affecting you. Go back to, again, ewg.org. Find some good quality stuff to use on your hair. Moving away from all those styling products, the gels and the sprays and the pomades. My God. Give your scalp some love and actually feed it good food. All the nutritional pieces that I mentioned, oh yeah, by the way, that helps your scalp microbiome, but also including into that probiotics. You want to make sure you're eating fermented foods, really helping. It's going to help your whole body. Remember doing the scalp exercises, especially in the shower, moving away from that really hot water. These are all things that are going to help. Humidity, temperature, pollution are all things that can affect the composition of your scalp health. Sun UV, radiation from the UV can alter the scalp's microbial community, affecting overall skin health. Hormonal changes, hormonal fluctuations during puberty, pregnancy, menopause, that's all going to affect the scalp. We just want to look at the big picture stuff. We want to limit chemical exposures. That's the biggest one. Things like sulfates, parabens, silicones. You want to use organic when possible. Protect yourselves from the sun. So if you have a sensitive scalp, or you're doing some of these practices right now, protect it. Wear a hat when you need to. You know, give a little bit of vitamin D to the scalp, and then put on a hat. You don't want to burn it. It's going to affect that beautiful biome on your scalp. Of course, limiting all those nasty things I mentioned. Good supplements out there. There's some evidence-based ones. Biotin is a one that has played a role in the production of keratin, giving good protein to your hair. There's several studies that show that biotin deficiency can actually lead to hair loss. Typical doses are 2,500 to 10,000 micrograms per day. This is not medical advice. Talk to your doctor about all of these. Vitamin D, I mentioned before, really helpful at waking up dormant follicles, helpful for different types of hair loss, particularly in alopecia areata. 1,000 to 2,000 IUs per day. Again, talk to your doctor. I'm not giving you medical advice. I got to cover my butt here. Iron, I mentioned that one. It actually brings oxygen to that hair follicle. A dose that is common is 18 milligrams for women and 8 milligrams for men. Zinc, helpful for hair tissue growth, repairs and maintains the oil glands, as I mentioned before. 8 milligrams for women, 11 milligrams for men. Supplements often range from like 15 to 30 milligrams per day. Omega-3s, really good quality ones out there, really crappy ones. I mentioned a few on the show. Peoria is one of my favorite ones. And I think that on this show, we'll have them on the show notes. If not, they're on previous show notes. Really fantastic one. Anyway, reduces inflammation, supports overall hair health. Studies have shown that omega-3 supplementation can improve their hair density, reduce hair loss, and think about fish oil supplements or even plant-based ones like flax oil. The typical doses are about 1,000 milligrams. You want to get combined with EPA and DHA at minimum. Saw palmetto is another one that has been intriguing for many years. And saw palmetto is believed to block the activity of 5-alpha reductase, right? Remember, just like my Propecia does, Finasteride, similar. It's an enzyme that blocks that production of that 5-DHT that is causing androgenic alopecia. Some studies show that actually saw palmetto can help improve hair growth in men, especially with androgenic alopecia, at about 320 milligrams of a standardized extract per day. Collagen, really important amino acid for your hair, for your skin, for your nails. It helps maintain the scalp's dermal layer really strong, so it's rooted and good. And when it comes to evidence for hair growth, it's limited, but collagen supplementation is going to be really important overall for hair growth. You can take 2.5 all the way up to 15 milligrams per day. Get yourself a good multivitamin so you have a good scope of all the vitamins and minerals, especially if you need support and you've been deficient with your vitamins and minerals on tests that I was mentioning. Ginseng, fantastic, believed to promote hair growth by stimulating the scalp actually, and the cells of the scalp, especially the ones at the follicle. Ginseng is one of my favorite herbs of all time. I've been talking about it for many years. And the dosage is usually 200 to 400 milligrams. There's silica. Talk to your doctor about that for hair thickness. There's just a lot of ones out there. I know you've been really wondering about the exotic ones though, right? The ones that are like maybe old wives' tale, right? Or something your friend did. I'm going to speak about 3 of them. Onion juice is a big one that a lot of people talk about for hair growth. There's actually a small study published in the Journal of Dermatology in 2002 that investigated the effectiveness of onion juice in treating hair loss. And the type of hair loss that has the patchy baldness, remember the alopecia, the autoimmune one, and had 38 participants with alopecia areata. They divided them into 2 groups, one with the onion juice with the scalp, the other with tap water. And after 6 weeks, 87% of the onion juice group experienced hair growth compared to 13% in the tap group. That may be the placebo right there, right? But the researchers concluded that onion juice might be effective for hair regrowth. There's limitations. It was a small study. There needs more controlled trials, but interesting. Probably because of the sulfur. Onion is rich in sulfur and it promotes hair growth, improves blood flow to the follicle. It gives nourishment. It helps keratin. It's a component of keratin. So theoretically, it sounds really good. So we just want to think about, it also has antimicrobial properties, so it can help balance the bacteria, and antifungal properties, so it can help balance that microbiome. Also, theoretically, it can help with circulation. It can have an antioxidant effect, just to think about, right? There's one good study. Let's see. If you really want to go crazy, I don't see how it's going to hurt you other than the smelly onion head, but there's something you could do. Castor oil, another one. There's a lack of direct evidence. There's current research looking at the scientific studies behind it. Is it effective? Maybe. There's indirect research that shows, some studies that show that the properties of a constituent within castor oil called ricinoleic acid and its effects on inflammation and moisture may be beneficial for hair loss. But compared to other oils, something like coconut oil was actually more effective at penetrating into the hair shaft. It's likely that castor oil isn't fully penetrating, although it might for you. If you had used castor oil and you swear by it, then great. I don't have all the answers, right? But the more an oil penetrates, the more it helps prevent protein loss. And compared to mineral oil and sunflower oil, coconut oil was actually helpful at penetrating better. But for castor oil, it can really help with moisturization, especially because it's rich in ricin oleic acid. That's a fatty acid and it has moisturizing properties. It can help the skin stay hydrated. Especially if you have flakiness or dryness, you might want to explore this one too. It's anti-inflammatory. It has antimicrobial effects, again, helping the scalp. And a study published in 2015 in the Journal of Skin Med compared the effectiveness of rosemary oil to minoxidil. This is the conventional hair loss treatment. We know that one, the Rogaine one, for androgenic alopecia in men and women. And the study involved 100 participants. They were divided into two groups. One group had rosemary oil to the scalp, while the other group had 2% minoxidil solution. Both groups used their respective treatments twice daily for 6 months. What did they find? Both groups experienced significant hair growth with no difference between minoxidil and rosemary oil groups. Additionally, actually, the rosemary oil group reported less scalp itching compared to the minoxidil one. It inhibits DHT. It's good for blood circulation. But if you're using something like a rosemary oil, make sure you mix it with something like a coconut oil for better penetration. You want a carrier oil. But that's actually the most intriguing, exotic, or old wives one of all. And if you are losing your hair, take a look at the holistic picture. Take a look at the nutrition. Take a look at the stress. Got to look at those foundationally. Then look at the supplement protocol that can help support hair growth. And then think about the exotic ones. Again, think about the rosemary one. I think all together can be really powerful for you. And if it gets to the point where you look at conventional treatments, make sure that you're protecting yourself from the side effects, because many conventional treatments often carry with it a slew of side effects, some serious, some not. I know hair loss can really affect your confidence, especially when you had luscious locks and they were flowing in the wind, but don't worry about it. We got you covered. Listen to the show, share it with someone you love. And I want to thank you so much for listening to this Knowledge Bomb.